The year was 1936 and Charlie Chaplin's unbelievably futuristic silent film Modern Times was released, an aptly titled 90-minute feature that focuses on the life of a factory worker and how he is thrown out of his job for his manic behavior. And after watching the film, you realize that it was not his manic behavior but the uncontrollably manic behavior of his workplace, the factory. A state-of-the-art mechanical assembly line designed to lower production times and improve the quality of life, except of those who are assigned to operate them. This is probably one of the first accurate visual definitions of the word hierarchy. A dictator-like boss who orders to increase the speed of production. But what about the workers? Well, it depends on how quickly they can catch up, because the machines won't stop for anyone. And slowly, the speed of the conveyor belt hypnotizes the senses of our protagonist, only to enslave him into the ruthless functioning of the machine on the orders of the hierarchy. A very similar tragedy has been portrayed by the latest Malayalam film Ariyippu, now streaming on Netflix. Along with depicting the cruel side effects of unlimited internet access, Ariyippu makes a bold statement by exposing the cruel nature of the hierarchy of power, a systematic regime that uses false promises and heartless concerns as nefarious facades to hide ulterior motives. Let's try to find out how Mahesh Narayan and his team were able to achieve that. Again, for some context, let's quickly summarize the story. Harish and Rashmi, a couple from Kerala, migrated to Delhi for job opportunities to help boost their chance of settling abroad. But 2020 happened and they got stuck in the city while working at a surgical glove manufacturing facility. While Rashmi unravels an error big enough to question the safety practices, she and her husband become the victims of shooting a doctored video that was actually meant for getting their visa approved. In the process of proving their innocence, the couple is informed about the dark secrets of their workplace and get caught up in escaping a shame that was brought upon them either unintentionally or intentionally. Their workplace is ultimately proven to be harboring someone who was responsible for contaminating the work environment. The factory has been a home of colossal inaccuracies. In order to explain those inaccuracies and the secret attempts to hide them from everyone, the makers of Ariyippu take the help of symbolism with the use of two colors, white and a lighter shade of blue. White stands for innocence and purity, blue stands for trust and responsibility. But by the time we reach the end of the film, we will see the use of white and blue to symbolize the innocence of mischievous nature and the absolute disregard for responsibility. Let's try to find out how this symbolism of dual nature is achieved in this film. In the opening shot, we are introduced to a large indoor space that manufactures uncountable amounts of trust to protect the hands from germs and bacteria. The assembly line starts with white-colored hand models or mock-ups. I guess they are called mock-ups. But yeah, anyways, they get dipped inside the blue chemical solution, which eventually thickens and forms the glove. Then the glove is removed from the mock-up and sent for further cleaning and distribution. Once this entire process has been captured along with the opening credits, we then cut to this shot of a worker opening a big blue door to let the female workers get in for their shift. They are frisked to avoid bringing stuff that's off limits, and then they start working in the factory by wearing the uniform. Now, if we watch this again, we realize how the use of white and blue in these shots of the assembly line is a symbolic representation of how the factory functions. When the assembly line starts, we have the white hand mock-ups, which represent how the workers come in line to offer their hands-on experience and skills. The white color also represents the innocence of the workers who choose to dip themselves into the pool of trust offered by their employer. They work their shifts at a speed fixed by the hierarchy, and in the end, they remove their uniforms to assume their domestic duties. All of this sounds very routine and harmless. It is hard to spot any voids. But as the plot progresses, we notice the first breach of trust on behalf of the company when Rashmi realizes that all the surgical gloves that she has received for testing are defective. She reports this to her senior, and from here onwards, the film starts introducing us to the levels of hierarchy and their hidden motives. Rashmi reports this to Suresh, who starts questioning her about whether she reduced the air pressure or not. Suresh then reports it to the manager Dinesh Rajput, who once again questions Rashmi as if she deliberately made them defective. He also points out that wearing a ring in the testing unit is against the rules of the factory. While she tries to explain how the ring cannot get off her finger, the manager shifts her to the washing unit. Later, he explains that she has been shifted to the washing unit because that area is devoid of inspections. Another major sign of inaccuracy and irresponsibility. Also, this heated conversation is the beginning of exposing the cruel nature of the hierarchy of power. The second time it gets highlighted is at this moment when the head of the washing unit complains about something to the manager. That manager is once again seen as disregarding the complaint and even goes ahead to tell her that she should now get retired. It's high time. So we can clearly tell how Dinesh is not ready to understand the problems of his subordinates. He just puts the blame back on them. But whose hands are dirtied by the actual misdeed? We will find out soon. However, we once again witness the use of white and blue color in both these incidents to depict the level of hierarchy and expose its cruelty towards those who are just meant to follow orders without saying a word. Their inability to speak their mind and reveal the truth about something can be understood by looking at the masks worn by the characters that symbolize the restrictions of their free speech. Earlier in this scene, the white color depicted the employees' sincerity and innocence, whereas the blue color symbolized the workplace's responsible attitude. However, we witness a contradictory use of these two colors in these moments. The manager wearing the N95 mask symbolizes not just his superiority but also the mischievous nature of his innocence, thanks to the white color. On the other hand, the blue-colored regular surgical masks worn by Rashmi and his seniors portray their willingness to take responsibility for reporting the errors. This theory seems to get corroborated in this scene when Rashmi encounters another shocking revelation. She immediately informs the head of the washing unit about the inclusion of used surgical gloves. The head of the unit saves those gloves as evidence and also asks Rashmi to record a video. Speaking of video recording, the manager enters the unit and accuses Rashmi of recording the obscene video inside the factory premises. Though this time the use of white color gets justified, we will soon find out that this was just another way to hide the actual perpetrator. Harish and Rashmi report this to the police, but they are forced to step back from filing the complaint. You know how that happens. So Harish decides to take the matter in his own hands, and we notice the inclusion of a classic trope in this scene, finding the clues in the footage. But it serves the moment perfectly because Harish is indeed able to discover something terribly wrong with the leaked video that can actually prove the couple's innocence. Now once again, the use of blue color for the surgical masks worn by Ismail and Smita have been used to signify how both of them are ready to help Harish to uncover the truth. They are supporting him. Ismail becomes the mentor and Smita becomes his ally. Smita informs Harish about how the entire system of functioning at the factory needs to be investigated by the police, and she once again suggests not deleting that video as it will serve as a major evidence. Harish and Ismail do their best to follow the leads but end up getting caught in a mess. And now in this scene, we witness an outburst of emotions in a way that honestly made my jaw drop. It's a horrific scene that captures the character of Harish in his most miserable and defeated state because of several reasons. Not getting the visa clearance, the doctored video getting circulated amongst the factory workers, and the fear of losing the job. Everything just seems to get unbearable. And unfortunately, his wife has to support and satisfy his needs even during such tough times. But the next morning, she also becomes a suspect in the eyes of her husband. Harish looks at the CCTV footage and once again, the classic trope of revealing something new using footage is used. This revelation shakes Harish to the core and he decides to not allow her wife to stay with him anymore. While Rashmi deals with the unexpected harassment, Harish assumes the duty of heading the stripping unit. Now, this is an excellent moment in my opinion that includes the use of color. Since Harish knows that the video was shot in the stripping unit, he is now suspecting the one who recorded that video by taking charge of that unit. And his feeling of suspicion is communicated by how the workers are removing the gloves from the hand mock-ups. Their action of removing the gloves is translating his search for the answer. whose hand was behind that nefarious crime. The question of which factory workers did it is visually conveyed by the blue-colored gloves worn by the workers who are removing those gloves from the mock-ups. Who is the culprit? And who is innocent? Whose hand was behind the crime? We now cut to a couple of shots that hint toward the arrival of someone special and someone important. The person arrives in a white Audi that clearly symbolizes his stature. And as he comes out of the car, we get to know about his hierarchical power with the help of his white N95 mask. He's the owner of the factory who has come to look into the matter. At first, he seems helpful and innocent, but his choice of hand jewelry instantly eliminates his innocence and makes him a suspect in the eyes of Harish. After facing a lot of obstacles and taking the blame for something that he and his wife did not do, Harish cannot take it anymore and he lashes out his anger toward Kailash because he cannot control his desperation to find out the truth. But out of desperation, he ends up committing a crime himself, for which he gets arrested. Suresh gets him bailed, takes him to the factory, and now is the time when everything will be revealed using a direct attack with exposition. The couple and the audience are informed about how someone from the top order of the hierarchy is the real culprit. As we listen to the truth, we realize how the company wants to hide its dirty secret in the name of offering the couple a new life that is devoid of shame. And to further turn their settlement option into a more lucrative offer, the owner of the company takes them in their white Audi to a village where the company was successful in hiding their previous crime. They are ready to declare the innocence of Rashmi and also say that they are going to improve the quality of production. But this shot of the assembly line helps us to understand that these declarations are actually meant to make the company look innocent, because the production should not stop. In fact, the production cannot stop. By looking at this assembly line in the final moments of the film, I think the makers are trying to symbolize how the hierarchy has been successful in cleaning the image of the company. No matter what happens, they always wanted to appear innocent despite their white lies to gain the trust of their workers. And in the process of making them look virtuous, they compromised the dignity of a woman and made her carry the burden of guilt. Harish and his wife are not criminals anymore in the eyes of the society, but the question of who exactly helped in committing the crime continues to linger around them. They feel clueless because almost everyone around them looks like the one who did it. But who cares now? It's business as usual.